Hello my fellow wielders of the amount of free time necessary to click on a video as brain-meltingly trippy as this. As you may be aware, the concerningly investigative little scumbag you are, the Iceberg Explained trend has been a dominant conversation starter in the YouTube community for quite some time. After all, the kinds of internet memes that also serve as mediums to organize our thoughts in an interesting and user-friendly way, they don't go away very easily. Therefore I, the Mart Man himself, thought it would be the grandest idea to make an Iceberg video just after everyone had societally come to the conclusion that the Iceberg video trend is dead and rotten. Even grander than that, I am exclusively making an Iceberg, the definitive Iceberg Explained video. The love of my life constantly goes up to that one male friend she has to complain about how I don't give her the attention she deserves. I cannot wait to get started on this video. This is what the Iceberg looks like. Yes, I am using an imgflip Iceberg generator. Yes, I am using all 8 layers of the imgflip Iceberg generator. Yes, I have an irreversible addiction to reindeer urine. Starting off, we have the tip of the iceberg, aka normie tier. I'm putting sea level here because when people are quirky enough to search up an iceberg of something, the level they'll find the most comfort in is usually surface level. When it comes to how well people know their favorite video games, movies, music artists, etc., the part of the iceberg just above the water is where they'll be like, yeah. All of this at once, give it to me. Next layer, we have the very level I talked about at the tip of the iceberg, which is the enjoyer tier, and I sure do enjoy it. No, I don't enjoy. I'm putting the shallow waters here, not because there's anything wrong with being so deep inside an iceberg, but because most memes that feature here are trying and failing in desperate ways to fit in with what's quote-unquote hip and cool. But then there are like 1 or 2 memes out of the 20 that'll catch your interest. It'll make you wonder, how on earth do these memes fall so deep into the iceberg chart? They're like the coolest freaking memes in existence, and then when you get to bed, you give it a little more thought. You realize, whatever, you know what? That just makes them cooler. Also, in case you haven't picked up on this already, yes, I am using iceberg levels to organize iceberg levels from most popular to most obscure. And I am trying my absolute bestest to organize the iceberg levels from most popular to most obscure because this video is necessary, goddammit! Next layer, surprise, surprise, we have the layer I talked about in the previous layer, achieving layer actualization as the fan layer. What's the difference between enjoyers and fans, you ask? Simple. Fans are more likely to develop a dissociative mental disorder. Enjoyers are more likely to find fulfillment in a boring life. Anyway, I'm putting the abyss here because it's human nature to want to look at the very bottom of an iceberg chart. But it's also human nature to absolutely annihilate any semblance of prestige that is easily manipulable. When I take a look at the abyss of the One Piece iceberg and see that it is implying that Luffy is a member of CP0, that Kuina is exactly the same person as Mihawk, that Sanji himself is the final missing ancient weapon, I am not existentially intrigued. I just want to chuck an 11-year-old Redditor into a prison cell in the middle of nowhere with only food and a toilet seat for comfort in hopes that it teaches him the true meaning of being #D. The abyss of the iceberg chart is reserved for the darkest, obscurest, most out-of-this-world memes imaginable. It is not, I say, it is not supposed to be up to the imagination of children and the repulsive, deplorable way. Next layer, the deep waters, also known as diehard tier. What's the difference between a fan and a diehard? You could be a fan of several things. You could be a diehard fan of only one thing. I'm gonna put the second to last layer of the iceberg here, the layer under the iceberg, the depths, the deepness, the dark waters, the darkness, the almost abyss, the pen abyss. What you're trying to find when it comes to looking into the abyss can actually be found in the layer above the abyss. That's basically the appeal. Iceberg chart creators are just too self-absorbed with their own boredom that they can't help but put the most obscure memes imaginable in the second most obscure layer. I am currently having problems trying to relate to the younger internet generation, the generation of kids currently growing up with TikTok, the climate change panic, the internet memes that center around the concept of doomerism. On a philosophical, sociological level, I could relate to them, but like when they diminish the meaning of prestigious topics like the bottom 2 layers of the iceberg, I just want to not care as much about making my own iceberg. No, don't. Nope. Just stop giving it to apathy. I'm giving it to apathy. I'm losing interest in the quality of my iceberg. This is not how I roll. I have to undo this. Stay in there, Mart Man. Stay in there. Next layer, the deeper waters, also known as stan tier. What's the difference between a diehard and a stan? A diehard is self-aware enough to realize that they have an unhealthy obsession with a particular form of media. A stan is also self-aware enough to realize that, but they choose not to let that stop them from turning everything into cancer. I'm gonna put deep waters here because I don't know. I don't know where else to put it. I mean, you look at it and you're like, oh, that's the deep waters. That's what you say when you look at the deep waters. Next layer, the bottom of the iceberg, degenerate tier. What's the difference between a stan and a degenerate? Good question. I'm going to put the deeper waters here because I guess the deeper waters are deeper than the deep waters, right? Gotta keep that consistency going, you know what I mean? Next layer, the darkness, lost cause tier. Difference between a degenerate and a lost cause? Well, I'm gonna put the bottom of the iceberg here because, I don't know, man, just end me already, just fucking. Next layer, the abyss, ascension tier, tip of the iceberg. Internet users are too afraid to give a single shit about the tip of the iceberg because normies are looked down upon in society. And right they are for feeling that way. See, I do care enough to look down upon normies. Normies just burn memes to the ground. That's all they ever do. I do feel like I have something thoughtful to offer about the topic of normies. I mean, they really burn everything to the ground. It all just crashes and burns before being brought back to life as undead capital. I do care about hating normies. I do care about my iceberg chart. Wait, wouldn't it be logically inconsistent for me to know and care more about the bottom layer of the iceberg chart than the layers above it? Wait, am I organizing the iceberg chart properly from least obscure to most obscure, or am I confusing it with the layout of a tier list? Wait, if I'm making an iceberg chart just after everyone has societally come to the conclusion that the iceberg trend is dead and rotting, wouldn't that make me a norm? No! No!